This is the video introduction with the reader from the reading rather from Peter Berger. It's a short reading, just a few pages. It jumps around a bit because basically I have an anthology that has selections from Berger, but I couldn't get the copyright to that, so I just have copyright to the Sacred Canopy, which is this really famous text that Berger is writing from, and took out the same excerpts that the anthology had. So it's just a few pages. Having read Wallace and Bruce, it'll be really clear, I think, kind of what he's doing. But Peter Berger, in a lot of ways, is sort of a grandfather figure within secularization theory. The text that we'll be reading dates to 1967 and is sort of a classical statement of, again, kind of secularization theory. And I think most of the time it'll make a lot of sense to you. A couple things to look at. First, and we saw this in Wallace and Bruce as well, but it's maybe clearer in Berger or more emphasized. He'll say a couple times that secularization takes place both on the level of what he calls consciousness and on the social structural level. In other words, that the secularization thesis is not just about an institutional separation of church and state or social structures, but it's about the role of religion within individual lives and practices and beliefs as well. And Wallace and Bruce make the same statement. So that's worth looking at. Another element to just be aware of, there are a couple times in here, I'm looking at page 128, for example, where Berger will talk about idealism and materialism and the interplay. Don't worry too much about those terms. Basically, within the social sciences and their legacies, you've had a tension between those who argue sort of the primacy of ideas, that ideas sort of shape history, that basically consciousness changes and that leads to changes in social structures and so forth, or materialists who tend to argue that changes in social structures or conditions themselves generate ideas. And Berger, what he'll be talking about when he talks about having a dialectical understanding is that he sees both of these as important, that you can't talk about social change like secularization by focusing simply on changing beliefs or ideas or concepts, but you have to look at concrete practice, or as he says, praxis, concrete activity in social institutions and so forth. And likewise, you can't talk about changing consciousness simply by reducing it to changing social institutions and so on. So page 128 is when I'm seeing that, so don't let those terms throw you. But for the most part, I think it'll be a straightforward text. It's brief, and I look forward to hearing what you think about it.